hallowed be thy name, we have to go back to the instruction or the science that was given to Adoma when he was required to name all of the animals, and he also named his wife. A name is a description. It's not just something we call something. When you name something, you provide a description, which then governs its attributes for later. Now, what happens is that there's a descriptor. So the description of Avanu in Shemayim, or Father in heaven, is hallowed. But hallowed, it comes from the same root as the word healed. To be healed is to be hallowed. To be healed is to be hallowed, is to be holy, is to be wholesome. So to be hallowed means to be complete. So your Father in heaven is complete. When you're healed, you're complete. So your base nature is to be complete. So when he says, hallowed be thy name, he's saying completed and healed is your description. That's the first step. And we have to recognize that, because on earth, we're not necessarily completed and healed. So I know I have something. You started me off by saying our Father. So you immediately told me that where I come from, the fountain that I come from, that I am like, is a fountain of healed. And also to be hallowed, healed, and holy is to be separated. So like when it says ye are a holy people, it actually means you're a better people. Because what's better, to be healed or not to be healed? So those who are sick, you're actually better than them. You know how we're taught that no one is better than another person? That's not correct. Hallowed people are better than people who are not hallowed. Just like when you're sick, you're not your best self. We say, Veyit barek ma kutcha, retsoncha yehie asu. Tavu me kayek, me katu cheya. It's two different ways to say that, which is basically your kingdom come. Yesu wejuneyak, or necha, which is your will be done. Kamovo shemayin kimbarit, which is on heaven as it is in earth. Sort of. I mean, that's how they translated it, but that's good enough. But it's like that which is in heaven affirms that which is in earth, because it's kin barit. You know, kin means yes. So when we hear the translation, it says on earth as it is in heaven, but it's really what you affirm in heaven affirms in earth. Because even in the Hebrew, the word heaven came before the word earth. But when they translated it to English, earth came before heaven. So in the English on verse 10, it's on earth as it is in heaven. But in the Hebrew, I'm reading here, it's Kamove Shemayim Kin Baritz, which is saying on heaven or in heaven, affirm what is in earth. Okay. So that one, thy kingdom, right? Kingdom is the dominion of the king. Dominion of the king. Okay, so that's another significant one, because immediately it says, when it says thy kingdom come, the kingdom is the will of the Most High. So it's saying when your will is made manifest. So the next one is Yesa Ritzoneach, thy will be done. Kingdom is the dominion of the king, king's dominion. King, family head, patriarch is the king. Dome is his dominion. So when I say thy kingdom come, I'm saying your dominion will come. Your rule will come, if you will. So essentially looking for that sort of presence, you know, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, right? So now understanding that how does the kingdom come? Through the manifestation of us. Because you started me off in the very beginning saying our Father, right? So if you're saying our Father, then there's a destiny that exists. We are the destiny of the Father, right? We're sent out. from Avenu, from heaven. So we express the work and the will of the Father in definite form. Your father is an artist who thinks with an abstract mind. So the abstract ideas that the Father has now furnishes it themselves inside of us. You see? So we're the creative power. If we didn't necessarily have creative power, we would be like robots. So that's why we're even praying, or we're affirming that will be done. If you were just like something that God just pushed through and worked through, you would just be an automaton. So when we say thy will be done, because I have my own will, but when I'm affirming, I start with saying, forget my will. I want your will to be done, because I'm not just a robot. You know, I have an individualized consciousness. I can separate. That's why you all, when you did the activity, you didn't speak to each other. Everybody went into their own space, individualized consciousness. But keep in mind that when we look at individualized, when you're functioning as an individual means undivided. But most of the time when we look at the word individual in Western concept with the sick mind, you think separate. But etymologically, that's not what the word individual means. It means to be undivided. Right? So when we have an individual portion of the Most High's, because it's individual, it's undivided. When we have a portion of the Most High's consciousness, we are linked. It's like water. You know, if I take water and put it into different vessels, it's still the same water, and it will still react the same when placed close together. If you put, you know, different cell bodies of water together, even without touching, they start to form a hexagonal shape. They think they're touching. It's the same thing that happens with honeycombs, beehives. You know, when they are dripping their liquid, it's liquid, but it forms into a wax. But what happens is, they start off as circles, but as each piece of wax melts, when circles touch each other, they form a hexagonal shape. That's just, you know, geometry, right? So water will do the same thing even when it's in different vessels, because it thinks it's touching each other. It starts to form hexagons. So it's never actually divided. It's never actually separate. So thy kingdom come is our responsibility to be the expression of the Most High's rulership and will on the planet Earth. So it is man, woman, and child who establishes that kingdom. Okay, so we're looking at the things that the Creator intends to do as opposed to the things that we intend to do. Va Shemaim Kin Ba Re'itz, or Re'itz. Re'itz is or it's it. So the concept there is learning how not to try to live for yourself. Ritzon Sha Yeha Yasu Boshemaim Uvara'itz, Uva Aretz. It's, I'm not going to live for myself, but rather I'm living for your will. I'm living because I'm established. We're learning how to use our free will in a positive way, and instead of a negative way. So we're not thinking selfishly. We're not thinking wrongly. We're not thinking, we're not even meditating upon all of our own personal troubles all day. But instead, our meditation now shifts to the essential nature of Yahuwah. So we're forever about our Father's business, because that's all we're meditating on. We're not thinking about, I want this and I want that. Why can't I get this and why can't I get that? You know, we're not trying to set up life for our own account, you know, because honestly, that's where all of our troubles come from in life. When we abuse our free will and we seek to kind of work separately and apart from the Most High, you know, that's where you get poverty, That's where you get death on the physical, sickness. It's all because you've confused that idea of individuality. But really, that's an abuse of your free will gift. So living for yourselves, you'll never truly be happy or successful, because you won't have the dominion that comes from Shemayim. You won't have the connection with causation. Remember, heaven or Shemayim is cause. So if you're living for yourself, you've disconnected yourself from the cause of what affects things on the physical plane. So you're just pushing dust around at that point. And you might make a pile of dust and think you did something, but it's just dust. It will blow away like that because it wasn't cemented in heaven. The will, that kingdom coming, it wasn't cemented in heaven first. Okay, so we did thy will be done. So ultimately, what it's saying, like your total business is to bring your whole self as quickly as you can into conformity with Yahuwah. So you're always saying, make our will, your will. There was a book. Well, it was later called Dante's Inferno. But there was a piece in there where Dante says, and his will is our peace. So, like, you're searching for peace in your life. So you're doing all these things where you're pushing the dirt around. And if I push it over, it's material. If I form the dirt and stack it up and make it look like a car that I want, I'll be peaceful. If I form it and make it look like a lover I want, I'll be peaceful. If I make it look like this, you're just stacking up dirt. Whereas if you align with the will of the Creator, that's when you will find peace. Okay, so that's what that part could also be saying. Tavu makayu yesha risanek. Ritz on nekha, actually it's nekha. Komova shamayim bin baritz, on earth as it is in heaven. Then we have eslachim shufkanu tin lanu hayom, which is that's verse 11. So Eslachim Shukanu Ten Lanu Hayom. I know Hayom. I think that's give us today our daily bread. I think it stops right there. So give us today our daily bread. So that's a science where that was a throwback. That was an OG throwback reference he was throwing in there. When he said, give us today our daily bread, he was talking about manna. Because remember when they were told about picking up the manna when the children of Israel were traveling, he said, store none up for the next day. So just eat enough manna for today. So when he says, give us today our daily bread, that was his OG reference, So what he's saying is that, or what he could be saying is that if you look at like a child, right? A child doesn't say to their parent, make sure we have enough so I can get some tomorrow. A child spontaneously just looks for what they want. Say, Mom, can I get this? Baba, can I get that? You know what I mean? It doesn't end no matter how old they get. You know what I mean? They just, you got that. You got it. And even though I ate all of it yesterday, you'll have some today. You see? So it's that concept of, that's the same way that we're supposed to look at Avinu and Shemayim, our Father in heaven. We understand that faith is a daily thing. You gave it to me yesterday, you're going to give it to me today. You're going to give it to me tomorrow, but I ain't really thinking about tomorrow. I'm going to get it every day. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with the manna. So once you have that, your life becomes very joyous, like a child, because you have no worry for tomorrow. You're not concerned about that. You know that your daily needs or your daily bread is going to be supplied, your daily manna. So you start to develop in a way that's very free. Right now, as we get older, a lot of our development is stunted because we're worried about tomorrow. We're looking at our bank account. I got this much left in my account. I want to go do this, but I have to pay for this next month or next strong or tomorrow. So I'm not going to go do that. I would love to just take 2 years, go into an ashram and just study and learn. Oh, but I can't because I have to take care of this next year or in 2 years. So what happens is that your worry and your concern for tomorrow, it stunts your growth. So when you recognize, like, no, day by day, I'm receiving food, clothing, and shelter, then I can form freely. That's what we want for children. You don't want your child stressed about what they're going to eat tomorrow, because they're not going to be able to pay attention to the lessons. You see, so even as a parent, sometimes you buy double just so you have abundance and they can see abundance. You'll buy the big thing of toilet paper, you know, just so it's like, yeah, we got plenty. Don't be asking me about that. We got that. Not going to do your homework. You know, so that's the science of what that give us our daily bread. Also, it's like you're seeing Yahuwah as the fountainhead, you know, so being that fountainhead to all of our good, that if there's any lack of any kind, it's not from the author of life. It's not from the Most High. If there's any lack of any kind, it's because it's something that we probably did. Because a lot of times we look at our long-term supplies, our investments. If we lose our job, we lose our money. And we think like that. Supermarket closes. Where am I going to get food? I don't have no food. I'm not going to be able to eat. If I don't work, I don't eat. We have those kind of things that have been thrown into it, like programmed into us. So if we fall out with our boss, first thing we think, I'm going to be homeless. So when it's saying, give me or give us our daily bread, it's speaking about the ability for cosmic manifestation. That's a cosmic law of manifestation, that your supply comes from an unchangeable spirit. So everything in the world is changing. Like, yeah, job may close down, another recession, another this, another that. But that's not actually where your supply comes from. Your daily bread is also the presence of the Most High. Because it's a manifestation of the Most High, sensing that the Most High is always present with me, you know, always all wise, always giving. I have nothing to fear because daily I'm being checked on. You know, that's the science of Emmanuel. When you read in scripture, Emmanuel means Yah with us. So many people believe that Yahweh Shai was a manifestation of Emmanuel. But that's wrong. Emmanuel was Emmanuel, and Yahweh Shai was Yahweh Shai. There's multiple saviors in the Bible, but because many people grew up Christian, they think it's just Jesus Christ. But that's a false narrative. So when the coming of Emmanuel was prophesied, that was a different person, Emmanuel. But that's the science of that daily bread. It's that hidden manna that we have within our lives, and it nourishes the soul. Just as physical food will nourish the body and will kind of grow you to an adult stature. And without having that, we recognize that we would be crippled and stunted. So when we say give us our daily bread, like, make sure I grow properly. I don't want to be crippled. I don't want to be stunted. The bread of life is the key one with that. There's a scripture that talks about the bread of life, which was called Emmanuel. And that's the fundamental contact that one must have with Yahuwah all the time. It's an accepted time. That's like when someone asked me in one of the study groups, like, how do I meditate? I think it was Isaiah. And I said, I stay in meditation. You know, so I don't really meditate. I don't need to. You know, so that's that, because of that constant contact all the time. And the importance of that too is that it removes classism from spirituality, because whether you're feeble, whether you're poor, it doesn't really matter. Like, everyone gets their daily bread if they have that potential for their consciousness to be changed, you know, as long as they're tapping into that manna in the desert, you know. But that also means that you can't live on yesterday's food. You know, some people, they always got war stories, or they have stories of like, well, I was this, well, I used to. You know, you see somebody doing something stupid, and the first thing they tell you is that I wasn't always like this. I got into People always lie and say how giving they were. It's kind of like how women always lie and tell you how long their hair was when they were children. My hair used to be down my back. They all say, bald-headed women always say that. So it's the same thing. I was like this until my last relationship, and then I just turned bitter. You're lying. No, you weren't. You're trying to live off of yesterday's food that didn't really even exist. So the science of give us our daily bread is a recognition of that. We can't live upon yesterday's realization. We can't live in the past. We can't live on top of death, but the art of life is the moment. That's what creates a true life artist. When you know how to live in the moment, and when you're an instrument of Yahuwah's expression, it's all moment. And the best way to make tomorrow dope is by making today dope. There's nothing else you could do for tomorrow but by making today incredible. That's it. It's the only thing you can do. Yushlak lanu es kovotenu kasher shalaknu gam anaknu lakavenu, and forgive us for our debts as we forgive also our debtors. This is where it starts to get tough. Like, this is where it takes a left turn in this particular prayer. So this is where it takes a left turn in the prayer, because now it puts a certain kind of onus on the one that's listening. So this is where you take your hard left. This whole prayer is a formula. This was the sneak knockout punch of the whole formula. So really it was like he was just setting you up for this line the whole time. Because there's a strategy to it where now Yahushua is saying that now you know who the Most High is. Now you know what you are as man and woman. Now you know the workings of the universe. Like, you got all of that all the way up until this point in this prayer. This prayer really encapsulates the whole tradition inside of it. If you know how to break it down, it's all in this prayer. It's probably one of the most powerful prayers, if not the most powerful prayer in the world, honestly. But you just got to know how to break it down. It's definitely the most powerful prayer of the whole book. Absolutely. But you just got to know how to read it. If you know how to read it, you have every formula for anything you need right there. Forgiving someone of sin is the central ambition in life. That's your whole issue. Because your sin, or your sense of sin even, it separates you from Yahuwah, and it causes you to totally invest in the human tragedy, or the tragedy of the human experience. So it creates ultimate separation, which is your whole issue. Your whole life is you're trying to connect to the Most High. You can't connect. I don't feel connected. I don't feel like I'm one with the Most High. I don't even feel the Most High. The Most High doesn't talk to me. I don't hear the Most High's voice. Everybody got all those different, it's a bunch of phrases. The reason is because of your sense of sin. So when he says that, forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. I believe that's the English. He's saying, he started off by saying, our Father. So when you start off by saying, our Father, you're telling me that my true self, my true nature is to be one with my Father in heaven. That's what I'm supposed to be. Undivided from my Father in heaven. Expressing the ideas of my Father. Not only expressing the ideas of my Father, but witnessing the dynamic mind of my Father. That's what I'm supposed to be from the root. Because hallowed be thy name. Whole, complete be thy description. So I'm a part of that wholeness. So that would mean that if we are all Israelites and we are all a part of that wholeness and we are all one, then I am connected to every person in the same exact way. If we all come from the same fountain, then everything that came from that same fountain is also the same thing. So if I trespass against my brother or my sister, I have trespassed against the Most High. And it goes back in the same way, because we're all the same exact thing. because you told me that in the beginning. You said our Father, right? So this is the most critical part. So there's an absolute sense of essential oneness with everyone who comes from that fountain. So now when you have sin, or what you may refer to as what is evil, it's an attempt to negate that reality inside of your thoughts. Sin and evil it's trying to separate you. It's trying to pull you from the path. It's saying you're not one with everybody. You can go do that to that person. You can say that because F them. You're not connected to them. So that's where the lying comes in. That's whispered in your ear. You see, so then eventually you seek to live apart from Yahuwah. Because now you've been given this mantra of you can do whatever you need to do without Yahuwah. You see? So you start to imagine that you have your own life, your own separate mind, and your plans and your purposes can be separate from Yahuwah's own interest. Right? So again, this was addressed right in the beginning. Thy will be done, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Thy will. So he immediately, he sets you up for it in the beginning. So you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Then he says, oh, but did you forgive so-and-so? Did you ask for forgiveness? Because if you're living separate from so-and-so, you're living separate from my Father. If you're living separate from the Father, whose will is being completed. So now you're living apart. And this is why you have all of this disharmony, chaos, and strife and competition in your life. Because you don't see the oneness. So if you would try to injure someone, rob someone, or anything like that, you're damaging yourself. You see, so this is like the turning point part of that whole scripture. So you come face to face with the proposition of removing the vagueness of your sin and looking at the real basis of it. The real basis of it is always going to be jealousy. It's always going to be resentment. It's always going to be remorse and all these different things. But you can't go any further until you deal with it, right? So when he says, forgive us as we forgive, that's a stopping point. Because everything that was read up until this point was speaking about the nature of something else. Now this is as we forgive. So now you make a decision in that moment. Do I want it? Like, because remember, he's teaching them how to pray. So in that moment, I'm sure people got up and left. Because if there's, we all have some people in our life where it's like, I'll never forgive you. And it can be triggering, those sort of statements. So as soon as he said, forgive us as we forgive them, he didn't specify who. That would have been the moment when people would be like, nah, I can't do this. And you want me to repeat this over and over again? Can't do it. So there's an intelligence there that Yahushua is exhibiting. It was basically like the closing arguments of a trial. You know, he was really attacking it like a lawyer would. So Yahushua is leaving no room for any kind of glossing over of that fundamental statement, right? So, and keep in mind, he doesn't say like, forgive me and I'll try to forgive them. People will say like, well, I ain't Jesus. You know, yeah, Jesus, God might forgive, but, you know, I throw hands. And, you know, little stupid, little cute stuff like that. They even make songs out of it, and people listen to it, think it's cute, and it's demonic. to say something like that. You know, because that's the ultimate flag that you've put down. It's an insane endeavor to seek the kingdom of Yahuwah without also wanting to be relieved of your own sense of guilt. You can't do both of them. You know, so you end up becoming trapped in this sort of inescapable position where you can't demand your release until you release your sister, or you release your brother, or your father, your mother, whomever. So you become trapped in that sense, you know. So that's why Yahweh Shai was leading them to the door of forgiveness. You got to forgive anyone who's hurt you, you know, if you want to be forgiven yourself. And that's just the bottom line of it. And you even read the scriptures where it talks about this pride. It was by sin that it was, and by that sin fell the angels. It's in the scripture. What was the sin? Pride. Pride is what caused them to fall from heaven. Right? Now, where's heaven? The land of cause. So you fell from the place where creation actually happens because of your pride. So setting others free is setting yourself free, because your resentment is nothing but attachment. It's just, if you have that feeling towards someone, that means you're linked to that person. You're attached to that person. It becomes it's a truth where it's like, in order to make a prisoner, you need two people. You can't be a prisoner by yourself. It's impossible, because who's going to watch it? You see, you get a job as a CEO. CEO will tell you, I'm locked in there too with everybody else. So that's an essential line so you got to cut those ties by a clear spiritual act of forgiveness. When people talk about soul ties, that's the soul tie. You got to cut the line and the tie by forgiving that person. Okay, ve'al teve yanu lide niseyon ve'shom ve'nu mikol ra. Amen. Okay. So, for out of it, nu, ide, niseyon, temptation. And lead us not into temptation. Ki'im kimechara. Deliver hara is evil. Take us from. Pull us from evil. All right. So we'll deal with that for a second. Now we're talking about power. Because a lot of people, you got to know the context. This is a time when we're still fighting against Zeus and Ares and Athena, you know, and Herod and Hades and all of these different Greek archetypes. And what did they do? They would play games with people. They would lead them into temptation. They would rape them. So when he's saying, lead us not into temptation, like, don't treat us like they treat their followers. You see? So, this one you have to be able to kind of understand within context. But this is really about how a soul is developed. You know, so what he's saying, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, is a spiritual treatment. If you're not leading me into temptation, I'm acknowledging that you are leading me. So that's staying in the presence. Now, so I stay in a meditative state. I stay in a place where I become spiritually treated constantly. Now, once I'm always in a spiritually treated space, I become more sensitive. It's like when you fast, you become more sensitive. Right? You can't fast without meditating to some degree, because you're going to get hungry if you're fasting from food. And then the first thing you're going to think about is, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. So it automatically takes you into a place where you're meditating on the reason. If it's a spiritual reason, whether you're angry about it or not, your mind is going to still go there, right? Through that level of meditation, you become more powerful. Your spiritual power comes from your spiritual sensitivity. Most people can never make anything happen spiritually because they're insensitive. But that's where all the power is. So the more time you spend working your soul, lead us not into take what you're leading me though. So the more time you spend being led, the more sensitive you become. The more sensitive you become, the more effective your affirmations become. You're heard more. The more effective your affirmations are, the better you become at healing. Because you become more holy. And you start to advance through the ranks of the kingdom very quickly. When people are stuck, or it's been 10, 15, 20 years, and they still got the same exact issues, this resentful, angry, bitter, jealous, gluttonous, you can just go through the list, it's because they're not led. So when they're not led, they don't stay in a meditative space. It's just like some people say, "Oh, I read this book, I did that," and you'll hear me say things like, "No, you didn't," because you don't have a hallowed aura. You're not healed. I can feel your sickness. So when you stay in that space, there's healing that comes because now you're rapidly healing yourself because you become more sensitive. Or you see someone who says it like that, but they're inconsiderate or they're negligent. Then there's no way on earth you've been led by the Most High. Because the first thing, you'd be sensitive to the needs of others. If you look in the Anu way, that's one of the qualities, required quality. You're not sensitive to the needs of others. You don't care. You only want what you want because you're focusing on your will. Right? So this is a key line. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Yeah. The alte venuli de in sheon ki mi chapsenu mean kara. What happens is that it's a two-way street too. Yes, you become more powerful, you become more sensitive, you become more inclined towards being able to heal. But trifling things that other people can get away with, you can't get away with. The simplest of things. You will get the ticket for jaywalking. You will get the fire hydrant ticket. Any little thing, you will get caught when you send that message gossiping about someone. You'll send it to the wrong person by mistake. You'll get caught for very trifling things. Because now what happens is that the more knowledge you have, the more responsible you become for that knowledge. So you have a different sort of punishment, if you will. Now, the leading into temptation is, as I'm growing, you come into a place where self-glory becomes, and self-aggrandizement becomes more the norm. So instead of bigging up your creator, you're bigging up yourself. That's temptation. To kind of glorify yourself and having those temptations of glory. Or I want my own personal distinctions. I want my own personal honors. That's being led into evil. Or even bragging about those things. I was the first to do this. I won this award. I got this. Or I've been recognized as that. You start to also, the evil that it's speaking about there is biasness, where you don't want counsel from sacred people. You want counsel from people who are they don't show impartiality. They're not perfect in that. You want counsel from people who will lead you into sin and lead you into evilness. So there's nobility that exists within as a result. When you have knowledge of the truth, it becomes a sacred trust that can't be violated. So lead me not into temptation to violate that sacred trust of knowledge that I've been bestowed with. So that would be Kilachak Nama Lacha. Hama Lacha is kingdom. Vragura, and the power, or Vegura. Vratiferet, Ulme, Olamim. That's the for thine is the kingdom, and the power. Tiferet is glory, and the glory. Olamim is forever, and in Amen, right? So, if you go into again of that understanding, right? The first thing we're saying is that we're speaking about the different manifestations of Yahuwah. Okay, so when we say this omnipresence, this allness, it means that Yahuwah is the one who does the thing, who's doing the thing, and who sees the thing. Because when we say the kingdom, yours is the kingdom is creation. Everything that has been created is within the kingdom of Yahuwah. Okay? So on every plane of existence, because he created what? The heavens, the earth, and the heavens. The heavens being different planes of existence. So when he says the kingdom and the power is what we work when we're affirming. Okay? So the kingdom is creation, heavens, earth, and the heavens. The kingdom is all creation. The power is our ability to produce. It's our ability to send things through our humanity, express things to our humanity, and push them outward. It's kind of like when we say, oh, the scriptures were inspired. That's power. To be able to be inspired and to take some ordinary thing that you would do and hold that thought and inspire it into divine intelligence. So now divine intelligence is working for me and I'm producing from that point. That's power. Okay? And then we have and the glory, right? So that glory is how you change. So when you hear me say like, yeah, your aura, you don't have the glory of Yahuwah on you. Because the glory is how you transfigure. There was a scripture about Yahushua transfiguring at one point, right? So that's when you're using the alchemy. You're going into your older age or whatever, and you're taking a very boring life and you're bringing it into the light. That's how you can tell that Yahuwah is not present. Because when Yahuwah is present, things are exciting. There's excitable moments because that means the glory, whether you're talking about the exhaust from a spaceship and the flames, that was the glory, which is exciting to look at, but it's also the transfiguration of the person. So it's taking that water and turning it into wine. Wine is more exciting than water. Or taking the lead and turning it into gold. Gold is more exciting. So that glory of that Tiferet, which is that leaf in the tree of life, that's taking something and it turns an ordinary experience into the bliss of Yahuwah. So the bliss is not like, the phrase ignorance is bliss. That's a lie. Knowledge is bliss. Because bliss is glory. And glory comes through knowing. So once you know, your life, like once you come into the knowledge of the truth, your life is no longer dull. Because you start seeing the amazingness and stuff that you walk by every day and didn't even think about. So your bliss comes from your knowledge, your glory. That's the Tiferet, that's the actual glory. Right? So that is a way that you can look at the Lord's Prayer. It actually gives you the formula for how a prayer is supposed to go. There's always going to be an adoration, which is an acknowledgement. There's always going to be a confession of some sort. There's always going to be a thanking, and then there's a supplication. That's a basic anatomy, and this prayer is actually broken up into 7 parts. Maybe we'll get into that another point. And 7 always represents the completion of the soul, whereas 12 represents corporate completion. 12 is the completion of the group, and 7 is the completion of the individual, right? So this one is dealing with, how do I become whole? How do I become hallowed and healed? These are the steps. So if I acknowledge that you are a certain person who has, in the beginning, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? I'm immediately acknowledging who you are. Then I'm talking about the ruling of your kingdom and your will. So all of these things are acknowledging who you are. It's all in acknowledgement. Then I ask for certain things. Daily bread, lead me not into temptation, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, right? And then at the end of that, I say, because I know you have the power to do it. Because all of creation belongs to you. You have all the power and you have all the glory. So I know you can do this thing that I just asked for, because it's all yours. So there is no speaking to the people. He speaks to the people in the beginning of 9 when he says, do it like this. That's the only statement he's saying to the people.
Gotcha.
After that, all the conversation is, I'm talking to God. Up until the end of 13 when he says, Amen. Then now I'm going to talk to the people again. So then after 13 when he says Amen, he breaks down. He reinforces what he said, he doubles down on it, but now he's talking to the people. That's when he says, if you forgive people of your sins, then so will the Father in heaven forgive you. Because when he said that, remember I told you that left hook was, you got to forgive people. You know, people were probably grumbling in the order, grumbling like, what? You know, so for him to now come at the end of the prayer, like, look, let me explain it to you. So 14 was him explaining, you know.
Right.
But his whole explanation was about forget. He could have explained a bunch of other stuff. He only focused on forgiveness because he knew that's the part that they weren't trying to hear.
Right. Because at that point is where you said it. You said that's where it takes a turn, and that's where the onus is on us now.
Right.
Like everything else, it's on the Most High, the daily bread, and forgive, taking our feet from temptation. But then everything else, now I'm responsible for what happened.
So he threw a little sneaky hook shot in there by saying, yo, if you don't do this part, none of this will actually work. But you can trust that it will work if you follow it, because the Most High owns everything that you're trying to get. Because if he says yours is the kingdom and the kingdom is all creation, everything you see that's been created, whether it be cars, houses, whatever, it belongs to Yah anyway, so you can get that. But this is the formula.
Is that where that's our will? Like, you have to do this. Like activating our will to fulfill the will of the Most High, to be indivisible from that collective.
Yes, but the being like the Most High, what if you read like what he starts off is saying, like he basically saying like, yo, y'all a bunch of hypocrites. Then I'm gonna show you the danger of being hypocritical. So, because when he starts, there's a part in there where he says, what did I give y'all? 6 and 9, right? So he says, basically he's talking about when you fast and stuff, like when he's saying, when you practice Zakat, which is charity. He's saying when you practice charity before, the Most High, don't show off. And he's saying, because your reward will be with Ab Shomayim. So he's saying your reward is with the Most High. It's not with people. So don't be trying to show off. And then he was like, when you give Zedekah, which is your charity, don't blow the shofar. The shofar is the horn that they blow. Like right now, we're in the Feast of Tabernacles. We're in Sukkot. So then he says, don't blow it like, Zevu'im. Zevu'im means like those who pretend to be one thing but are not. Those are hypocrites. He says, you know, so don't do your stuff in the streets. Don't try to do it for kavod. Kavod is glory, you know, because you'll get your reward, which is shakar. You'll get your reward. Everybody doesn't have to see what you're doing. So when he's like, even when you give tzedakah, he said, don't let the as, or your left hand, have the as of what your right is doing. The as is knowledge. Don't let your left know what your right is doing. He says, give your tzedakah in nistar, which is, nistar means to hide something. So he's like, give your offerings and your charity in secret, because your Father in heaven sees it and will reward you, right? And he's saying, even whenever you pray, don't do it like the Zebulun. Don't do it like the hypocrites, because they stand in the street corners so they can get an audience. And he keeps saying at the end of all those verses, he keeps saying, Omiin, they will have their reward. So what he's saying is like, what they're doing is so wrong that they're going to get punished. So he says it at the end of every verse, don't worry, they'll have their reward. They'll have their reward. So he's separating. He's saying like, because even, which was a critical, he says, but when you enter into the secret place, enter into your secret closet, you know, speak to your Father. That's when he calls in the Hebrew is Av Haroeh Besetir. Besetir means secret. So he's saying, he's acknowledging a different aspect of Elohim, because he's saying Av Asher Besetir, that Father in secret. Then he's saying Av Haroeh Besetir, the one who sees in secret. So he's saying like, when you out trying to get everybody to see what you're doing, you're talking to the wrong God. Our God doesn't see stuff like, our God sees things in secret. Those people who are doing that will be rewarded by their God, which obviously is the implication. It's not a good reward. When he's saying like, he said for the goyim, or like goyim, they think that their verbosity will be hurt, which is saying like they ramble on and they think because they say these words that sound eloquent or sound spiritual that they'll be heard, but they're goyim. That's just what the nations do. That's not what we do. He even says that your Father has knowledge, or has das, of what you ask before you even ask. So you don't have to put on a big show. That's when he starts to break down, okay, this is how you do it. You know, Avinu Shebeshamayim, Yekadash Shemaka. You know, our Father, hallowed, our Father in heaven, not on earth in the streets where everybody can see, but in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So what he's saying in early in that verse, he's talking about vain repetitions, because people learn the Our Father and they just say it vainly. Our Father, our heaven, hallowed be thy name. You know, like how you sit down and say grace. Thank God for the food about receiving the name of Son of Jesus Christ, amen. You know, so it becomes like these vain repetitions that he's saying, don't do that. So even if you're saying a prayer like this, he said, therefore offer in this way. So he's not even saying you got to say these exact words. He's saying, but do it like this. That way it won't become a vain repetition. Yes, Chief. It means nothing. So when you break down and understand the nature of what our Father is, then now your mind will start to shift into that way. So when you're having that communication, it will be right and exact every time. It will be hallowed every time, instead of you just repeating something.
When you were speaking about earth being the effect and the heavens being the cause, I understood, based on your analogy, how the earth was the effect. But could you explain why heaven is the cause? Like, yeah. Could you explain?
Heaven is the unseen realm. There's nothing that manifests itself into the realm of the living or the seen that doesn't come from a place that is unseen. So heaven, when we think about heaven or Shemayim, we're thinking about something up in the sky. And if we go high enough, we could probably see it. But that's not really what heaven is. Heaven is another dimension. Just like thought is another dimension. You've heard me refer to your head as heavens before, in your heavens. Because your thought creates the manifestation of what you are. That's why in the beginning of Bereshit, it says in the mind of the Creator. So that means that happened in heaven. Eden wasn't even on earth. People don't even know that. It was suspended above the earth. That's why you can't find it. Because we would have found those cherubims by now. Africa ain't but so big. You found it. It's in the sky. Adam and Eve, they existed in another dimension. And when they were cast out of the garden, that was like Lucifer falling to earth. They were put down on earth. You see. So if you wanted to see the cherubims, you'd have to look. We don't know how high up it is or what dimension it is. What kind of vision do I need to see those cherubims that lead the way? You know, it could be a constellation. But it wasn't they weren't on the planet. You know, we may teach it like that sometimes just to be cute, but they weren't on the planet. Not on the planet's surface, I'll say. They weren't on the planet's surface. They were in a different dimension. So that would be considered a heavenly place. See, these stories are signals and examples to stuff. So just like Lucifer being cast, or the dragon being cast out of heaven, that was a story that also was aligned with Adam and Eve being sent out of Eden, which was a place of heaven, right? But when we say Lucifer or the dragon fighting and being cast out, we immediately know that, oh wait, this didn't happen on the earth. It happened somewhere else. We assume it was in the sky because it makes it easier because we can't see up there. And they say, oh, the dragon fell. You saw him fall through the sky. It could have just came from another dimension. You know, that's all. So that land of causation, heaven, where the unseen happens, it lets you know that the real nature of the embodiment of where your power is not on the planet. This is an after effect. So the scheme is always going to be seen and unseen. Heaven is the unseen, earth is the seen. Right? So that's the fundamental fact of existence, that our function as man and woman is to express the cause. You see, so Yahuwah is the infinite and is the perfect cause, but cause has to be expressed, and it's expressed through us. See, the thing is, if you have that's where like sickness comes from, in a sense, like the sickness of thought. If you have cause with no manifestation, what are you?
If you have cause and no manifestation,
you're a hypocrite. If you have manifestation with no cause, what are you? You think you're God. So that's the thing.
But I'm sorry, how does the first one make you a hypocrite?
Because you're acknowledging that there is something there that has the power to and needs to manifest itself, but you're not allowing the manifestation of that divine will. So you're acknowledging, oh, God is good, God is this, God is that. What are you manifesting? Oh, none of that.
What you do. Okay.
You're manifesting your own will, right? So you acknowledge there's a cause, but there's no actual manifestation. So eventually, yeah, you do become a ghost. But when you acknowledge, like, yeah, I'm manifesting this, I am manifesting. And what about the deeper cause? Nah. I did this. I put this food on the table. I bust my behind at work. So now you're an atheist.
So then so in your analogy, that's why the cause on earth would be the car or whatever you said, like the piles of dust. You're not viewing those things as, like the car, as just a means by which to get around. Like it doesn't matter what that thing is.
No, you don't have to view it as a means to get around. You view it however you're told to view it. The Most High may tell you to drive a 1978 green Pinto. Or the Most High may say you need to get a Bentley. What is it? What is it? What is it? It's all an expression of the will of the Most High. Whichever one it is, right? So I don't have to look at things on earth like, oh, this is just a tool. That doesn't make me more holy. Okay. Because I'm still applying what I think my thinking is. The apostles had a treasurer. Why would you need a treasurer unless you got money? You know what I mean? They had money. Because you're going around dropping that type of science wherever you went. Imagine what people were giving them. You know what I mean? So, but Yahweh never spoke about money. He's never like, yo, you see me, I got bread. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm shining over here. See my sandal? All these rhinestones? He wasn't doing all that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. So it's a scheme that always works together when you have wholeness, when you're hallowed. You see, but when you have that sense of, yeah, there's a cause, but I'm not manifesting, you're evil. You're seeking to block the will and the expression of the Most High. You know, because every feature or reality in your life is a manifestation of something that's expressed through your soul. But so even the stuff like when you just pushing the dirt around, it's still an expression from the unseen space. But you can express through hell or you can express through heaven. See, the sicknesses we generate for ourselves, they come from an unseen place, but just not the heavenly place.
So that means like if you're expressing something that doesn't benefit the collective, then you're expressing from hell, I guess, like to just, and that means that's your God in that moment, or
it will be the God of whatever was expressed. Okay. Well, what was the difference between Yahweh and all the other children? Well, this child was birthed from higher thinking, from heavenly thinking. We call that an angel of God impregnated Mary. It was an immaculate birth. It was immaculate because the Most High is a perfect cause. So you're going to manifest through this perfect cause, which now creates this perfect child. Or you could just manifest because Mary had a fat ass. It's like squeezing on fat asses. Okay, so then you're going to manifest something that is earth-minded, earth thinking, because it's stuck in the physical bread and not the spiritual bread.
So, and that would be the same as unconscious creation.
It could be, but it might not be. If I run up into a woman and I have a baby with her because I want to lock her down, she's so beautiful, I think I'm never going to get another, or she got good money. She breaks me off of bread all the time. I don't think I'm ever going to get a woman that's going to give me this much money. So let me have a child with her, lock her down. I consciously knew what I was doing, right? But I'm not functioning from my higher presence of the Most High. I'm not functioning from archetypical ideas. I'm functioning from lower ideas because I'm not respecting daily bread. So when you don't respect daily bread, you immediately go down to your lower. I got to get this. I got to protect this. I got to have that. Because I'm not recognizing that the Most High will supply all of my needs according to His riches and glory. I'm good. I don't need to argue with you. I don't need to be right. I don't need to have this person in my life. I don't need it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I don't want anything. I'm okay. Whatever I do need, it'll be there tomorrow.
Me desiring things, so therefore I'm going to accomplish this or accomplish that.
Lead me not into temptation, meaning I'm always being led. Every single thing I do is an expression of the Most High. My home, what I use to design my home with, the clothes I wear, the recreation, everything I do is an expression. The food I eat is an expression, every last thing. So there's never, I don't have to say, well, this is for me. You have examples of that. People who still want to be feminists, for instance. But then in front of everybody, they have this presentation they think people are falling for. But they have this other kind of presentation. but I want this thing for me. I still want to hate men. Right? So what happens is that, so then your verses is, there's a battle between God and the devil inside of you. When there should just be one expression. And that's in everything. So see, so what happens with when you have that verses thing, you get this reality. I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hebrew, but I don't get to see my children or my grandchildren or my nieces and nephews very often. So they all get together on Christmas. And even though I don't celebrate it, I just go over there just so I can see everybody. So now you're in violation because you wanted to keep that thing for you instead of everything being to the glory.
And feeding yourself into that temptation of evilness.
And what happens is that ultimately, trying to have that cause without manifestation, you start to think you're your own personal God. And when you thinking you're your own personal God, then there becomes a paralysis of expression. Nothing comes out. That's why a lot of times music artists, their first project, dope. Then everything after that is doodle. Because they thinking like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I am the most genius artist of our time. And Meanwhile, for the past 10 years, the creator's been talking to you. And you've been writing those ideas and recording them. Oh, I got another idea. Oh, you were open. But then now someone told you that there was no higher cause. It was you. You did it. Now your expression stops. You ain't got crap.
And the example that you gave, it made me think about some of our discourse from 2 Sabbaths ago. We were talking about hating the world. You know, because if there is that hate for the world, and then there is that separation. So there won't be that internal conflict and that versus.
The verses is only going to lead you to two things. Like I said, you're either going to think that you're God, you're your own personal God, or you're going to become an atheist. That's it. If you have manifestation without cause, you're an atheist. If you have cause without manifestation, you're your own God. That's that whole, we playing a game and throw this in the basket, I give you $10, you miss. I meant to do it. I didn't want the $10. So now everything that goes wrong in your life, well, everything's for a reason, and I didn't really want it. I didn't really want that. Right now, you're your own personal God. You ain't manifesting nothing, but you got a divine spiritual reason as to why nothing ever works out for you.
I guess the question is like, isn't that still the cause being spiritual because you didn't connect to it? So you are not producing anything.
You'll produce something, but you never produce anything real. In order for something to be real, earth is synonymous, and I think even etymologically, you break down the word earth, it pretty much means manifestation. And heaven is synonymous with cause. So cause, manifestation. It just goes hand in hand, right? So if I'm only producing from the lower, and I understand that the heavenly cause is an infinite, eternal, and perfect one. It's perfect. It's like healed. I could be healed or I could be cured. Right? Curing something is temporary. Now I'm just using earth substances. Feel better? Cool. Is it gone? No, it ain't gone, but you feel better. Right? That's my cure. But if I'm healed, it's done. It's done. Right? So that's something that comes from inside. Healing comes internally. Curing is external. So you might produce something, but sometimes we'll produce something that looks like the other thing, but it ain't the other thing. Which I've talked about 100,000 times. Like, yeah, you can piece Ak and piece a Koti all day, and you can wear all them curtains y'all like to wear and them head wraps and all that stuff, and you can still be the biggest scumbag on earth because you're only curing the issue. You're creating this external expression because you're trying to compensate for the lack of internal expression and internal change. I'm not changing on the inside, but I gotta show something Because I've been talking junk for the past 5 years, told my family, kiss my ass and all that. And I'm still acting the same. All right, well, let me, hook myself up a little bit. You see? So that would be like you're manifesting something, but it's not coming from the heavenly place or the unseen place. It's coming from a lower order. And you can feel it. You can feel it every time. If you're manifesting from that place, regardless of what a person tells you, when this person is godless. When you're not led, you're paralyzed. How could you get into a study group with me and sit there with a dead look on your face? The only way that could happen is if what I'm saying is not hitting you, because there's no point to connect with you. All those points have been sealed off or they don't even exist. But if I would have gotten that study group and said, all right, you know what I want to talk about? Let's talk about, we're going to do an Anu Day picnic. We're going to have stilt walkers and drummers and goddamn cabaret girls and all that. Everybody would lit up. Because you have opened up your connecting points for that. But if I say, let's talk, Yahuwah, Bahashim, I can't relate to that because I don't have a portal within me to relate to that. I just pretend like I do, but I can't follow along. You see, so that's the difference, and you can always tell because they can't follow along.
And the way that portal is created is through
that prayer,
consultation.
Constant, that prayer, because you become more sensitive. Why am I sensitive? Because something's open in me that wasn't open before. That's why I'm sensitive. So that sensitivity leads to the power, leads to connectedness, leads to healing. But you'll see the resistance because people don't want to open up that portal. They don't want to be sensitive to that. They want to still have their own stupid ideas and their own will. That's the difference.
Being that it says in English, I believe you said that it said, like, it's the opposite. It says done in earth as it is in heaven, but in Hebrew it's the opposite.
Right.
So being able to read this, yes, in English, but in Hebrew, would that assist in opening up those portals further and becoming more sensitive if you read it in Hebrew?
Who cares?
Cares? Is that a question or?
Yeah, it's a question. Question mark at the end. Who cares about that?
Well, I do. Like, I guess, like, the person that's reading it, the people that the prayer is speaking to in order to actualize the will of God, or the will of the Most High. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, let me ask you something. If I take in more fluid or I hydrate more, will it help my skin to like be more supple and soft to the touch?
Yeah.
So I should start hydrating?
It's good for you.
Well, I'm talking about for the skin thing. I want my skin to be soft to the touch and supple.
Well, it's not it's not just water, but yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay. So I should start hydrating. I didn't say water, by the way. You said water.
Oh, I thought you said water. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course you did. I said hydrating. So I should hydrate so I can have nice skin.
No, because you could use alcohol and that doesn't do that.
Oh.
Right. That's not hydrating. No.
So I should hydrate, and the reason for me hydrating would be for me to have nice skin.
Not the reason, no. Shouldn't be the reason for you to hydrate, but it should just be something that you naturally do because it's well for you.
Oh. So let me ask another question. Should I speak the language of my ancestors so that way when I'm in the store I could say stuff about the price of stuff without people understanding me? Or should I speak the language of my ancestors because it's the language of my ancestors, and you should speak the language of your people.
Yes, because of that.
Should I speak the language of my ancestors so I can get more magical powers? So when I read scriptures in that language, my power will increase? Or should I just do it because I should just do it?
Because you should just do it.
Oh, okay. What was your question again? So, have you ever had a relationship with anyone? Or anything?
Yes.
How did you maintain the relationship?
Through a variety of ways. So, okay.
Like what?
Oh. Face-to-face communication, phone calls, maybe letters and texts, maybe just sometimes thinking about the person or looking at a picture or reflecting on a memory. Variety.
Okay.
So those are all the ways that I would commune.
I'm not a phone person.
Okay, so take that one off the list for you. Okay. But
yeah, I don't like when people call me. I don't like when people knock on my door, and I don't like when people call me. So that wouldn't be a way to get to know me. That'd be a way to piss me off. So how would we get to know the Most High?
By finding out which ways He wants us to commune with Him, based on your episode.
Do it like this.
Matthew 6:7. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions, right, as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Okay, so it's not just. Okay, so that's
Yahuwah. I think I'm like Yahuwah. Yahuwah was like, shut the F up. Like,
right.
Because even in Matthew 6, Yahushua said, know what you want to say before you say it.
Okay.
He said when you get ready to pray right before he gave the Our Father, he said, know what it is that you want to say. The Most High knows itself. So it knows it's giving you the exact ways to get to the door. Sometimes I say things about myself, y'all laugh, y'all think I'm joking. When I say I don't like this, I don't like that. If you were wise women, you'd be listening. And you'd be learning. But y'all just laugh and giggle. So as a result, none of you actually know me. So it's the same way when the Most High is he's got like 100 books. This is who I am. And y'all turn around and be like, how do we get to know God? You think all those books was for? But it's a joke. What are the laws for? To learn. Think the Creator's really gonna cry if you wear wool and linen together? But if you follow these commandments, you'll start to stay in my presence. You wake up thinking about me. You go to bed thinking about me. See, because that's the thing that you understand about being a patriarch. You're always thinking about everyone under you. Constantly. There's no vacation for that. You need to take a vacation. Okay. But even if I'm on vacation, you still sitting here thinking about everybody under you. So that's what the Most High does. Even more so. So then once in a while, the Most High would be like, hey, you mind putting your thoughts on me? Maybe? Because you have no connection. So how you interact with your master on earth reflects how you interact with the Most High. You ain't thinking about the Most High. You're thinking about yourself all day. So even when you do reach out, most of your conversation is about what you need. Does he need rest? Does he need sleep? Does he need silence? Just how people are. But the Most High knows this. Y'all so goddamn rotten. I had to kill my own son. That's how rotten y'all are. And he still made fun of him. While he was dying, made fun of him. That's how rotten you are. So that's what I'm saying. So how do we get to know the Most High? He's telling you like every day, this is who I am. This is what I am. So if you asking a question like that, it's like asking, can I help you with something today? You're not even trying to pay attention. You're trying to get the Creator to work for you some more. You're trying to tempt the Most High. So now you'll probably pray, God, how can I get to know you? That's an annoying question. I've been telling you how to get to know me for the past 6,000 years. And you've ignored it. So now that it's convenient for you, you want a cheat sheet. So if I just read this every day, I'm good. If I just learn the Hebrew, I'm good. It doesn't work like that. If you don't love the Creator, you don't love the Creator. It is what it is. Don't worry about it. But if you love someone, see, this is what I'm saying. Your answers, I'm not getting down on you. I'm explaining something, how you might just see this as a religious thing, but everything expresses itself to everything else. So how do I get to know the Most High? If we are all individualized portions of the Most High, I can start by getting to know my brother and sister. That's the easy one. The Most High has figured out how to express itself through all these wondrous and inventive and creative ways, through people, through plants, through phenomena. And I ignore all of that because I'm here on my phone, or while someone's talking, I'm looking something up, or I'm taking notes and like that. And the Most High is presenting itself to me right here in the moment, and I'm ignoring it. Because why am I looking up something on Wikipedia or whatever while somebody's talking, or I'm taking notes and ignoring, or having a side conversation? Because let my will be done. I'm only thinking about me and my will. Separation. No one even asked the weak question. See? So that's the answer. So that's what sometimes when you hear people say things and they're talking to me and I'll be like, nah, no you won't. I'm going to do better. No, you're not. And you probably think I'm just saying that to be mean. The formula's missing. People end up in places like Anu, not because they were so powerful that they were able to come into this space. It's because they really need what's in this space. Like I've told you before about Oshun woman, I have never in my life met a loving Oshun woman, ever. They are the coldest, most self-absorbed people you ever meet in your life. They're hard. And you realize they come with that Oshun energy to try to figure out how to love, because they are cold and nasty. All they care about is honey and cinnamon and having sex and looking pretty. That's it. So you come into this space, like I asked you, well, how do you get to know somebody? Y'all don't get to know anybody, and nobody really knows any of y'all. Remember Yahweh Shai said that? How could you believe in a father that you've never even seen when you don't even believe on the son, who you can look at with your own eyes? How could you connect with the patriarch in heaven when you can't even connect with a patriarch on earth? How could you connect with the concept of our Father when you don't connect with the concept? Well, if it's our, then it's us. We're together. We're family. You can't even connect with that idea. So now you're going to read these scriptures. You're going to learn Hebrew, and then you're going to get what the Christians call a personal relationship with God. That's when you now become your own God, because you'll do whatever you feel like doing. And then when someone questions you on it, you'll say, well, my relationship with God, or God told me. You can't tell me what God told me. People kill people and say God told me to do it. And then we say that's wrong. So we can say what God would say, wouldn't say, based on understanding something about the nature of the Most High. So that's the answer to the question. Like, if we speak Hebrew, do we, learn how to fly? Or if we read this prayer every day, will we automatically just now have a connection with God? No, you're going to have a connection with something, but it ain't going to be Yahuwah. And then you'll be frustrated again next year when it's evident that you don't have that connection. But for those who care, I know this frustration now. I'm telling you why it's not happening for you. You're using vain repetitions, as the heathen do. Y'all Y'all don't put any, you're not manifesting. See, when you repeat what I just said, you know what that is? That's, you're not coming from heaven. You're not creating. Just emulating. Who emulates everything from heaven? Anybody know? Red suit, pitchfork.
That's right. He can't create.
He can't create, so he just makes his own copy of everything that's heavenly. But when you're afraid to go through the door, no, because there was just a little twist on it. It's a little thing. Yeah, women have been oppressed in this country for years. So if you women lick on each other's vaginas and wear jeans and cut your hair into mohawks, you know, and wear Birkenstock sandals, then you will now defeat the oppression. So it's like, yeah, that needed to happen, but like that, I don't think so. See, men need to be more sensitive. Put a dress on. See, he always makes his own copy, but it's always twisted. Like, I can't be close with my brother. Why can't I love my brother and hug him and go hang out with him, go eat dinner with him and whatnot, and not look at him across the table like, could I? See, there's always that little twist in it. But sometimes we're afraid to go through the door of creativity. It's like being afraid to dance your own dance. And if you really had rhythm, your life would be pretty much perfect. When the Most High said to Adoma, now from the sweat of your brow you will eat, and you'll work the ground and it will not yield itself to you. That's him saying you're gonna lose your rhythm now. Because you were in tune with the earth before. Now you're gonna be out of sync with it.
But that applies to all of us, though. Like that.
All of you who haven't reestablished the covenant and the connection yet.
Okay, then.
I know. Then what's next? Well, how do I reestablish the covenant and the connection?
Yeah, right.
Right. But why would you want to reestablish the covenant and connection? So I can get. Because I want to get. That's the only reason you want to be, so you'll never establish it.
But if there, then that goes back to the conversation in the study group about will, like the wanting, but it has to be accompanied with the do or don't do. But then if there is no want and you're only doing the do, doesn't that kind of lead you to the atheism?
Somebody asked me not too long ago, Chief, why do you do all these good things for people? And I told her, because I'm good.
Meaning like you're a good person, or like I'm good, I don't need, like I'm good, so I'm going to spread it around. Like,
I'm good like how a dolphin swims. Why do they swim? Because they were born to swim.
Right.
That's what they do. Why does the eagle fly? It was born to fly. Mm-hmm. Why is Chief you? I do good things. He was born to be good. Why do I do black things? I'm black. I was born to be black. So I'm going to be what I was born to be. Not because, not as a response to, but despite. So when you say, I want to connect, it's because you're responding to something. Someone says, that's why your life's so effed up because you're not connected. Well, I want to fix my life. Yeah, you'll never get it. What do you do because it's what you do? Maria showed me a lamp once that had seashells she put all over it. And y'all been in her apartment. She got seashells all over every goddamn thing. Seashells and gold pieces of foil and pieces of fabric. Can't nothing be left alone. Why does she do it? Because she's not selling anything. She's not putting up YouTube videos like, yeah, this is how I took the toilet paper holder and put kente cloth on it. You know, it's just what she does. Can you be righteous? I'm just righteous. Do we ask the Most High, like, well, why do you do this? It's what the Most High does. I'm made of the stuff of the Most High. That's just what I do. But some are so separated from what they are and what they do, they have to come up with some earthly reason to do it. Why do you help people? Well, people need help. It makes me feel good. I like it. I help people because I help people. F out my face. That's it. That's what God does. All you're doing is why you can't be. You're doing too much. The doing clouds the being. Can you strip away all that doing?
Yes.
You did it already. You hate half the stuff you do, but you love the stuff you be. I've seen you be and really enjoy yourself. Even now, that's why you're always so silent, because you're doing too goddamn much. You think it.
Is that what it sounds?
Yeah, it's just a cave lady and stuff. That's basically what it is. So then you could come out and then say, so basically what it is shut the F up. Because when the flame comes, it should be like, oh, I'm up. I'm lit up. That's it. You should just be activated. But you don't activate because you're doing too much. Somebody play some music right now, y'all start dancing in your chair. Just activate. Start being happy, start being rhythmic. But you don't do a whole lot of meditations.
You don't need to.
Right. Babies do that. Have you grown past that point? Or are you still just reactive like a baby? Where only base level things will activate you. Can you be activated by good teaching? Can you be activated by a word, by a concept, by the presence of the Creator? This is an important thing. You don't realize it. As much as you're hunting down the ability to intellectually grasp this stuff, you should be hunting down what turns you on in all of this. When people write in and ask questions like that, where do I start? I always say start where your interests are. That's the best place to start when it comes to spirituality, because that's where your excitement, that's where your glory and enjoyment is going to be. Let that push into other areas.